So good day, everyone. So we'll discuss quantitative reasoning under the cover of Math 3. So for easy questions, we propose to solve it right away using conceptual understanding and recalling the set of formulas that you might need. Okay. Now, if the question is somewhat challenging or unfamiliar to you, please note that there is a practical way of answering that particular challenging question without resorting to detailed traditional solution. Okay? So to start with, let's have fundamental operations section 1. So direction, encircle the letter of the best answer. So for your actual NMAT, remember that you have 30 items for quantitative, and you must be able to answer it for 35 minutes. So train ourselves for every one question. Let's do our best to answer it in less than 1 minute. Okay? So let's have the first number. The command of the problem is simplify. So you have the 4 options, okay? And what do you think would be your answer if the command is simplify? So when you say an answer looks simple, okay, very few details are provided in that particular option. No? So here, if you do observation of the 4 options, no, C is a highly potential answer. Okay. Why? Because it is most simple looking. It contains only an information of the numerical coefficient and the literal coefficient. So let me recall some backgrounder about an expression. No? So 3y, 3 is the so-called numerical coefficient. Okay. And y is considered as the literal coefficient. Okay. So I am considering C as the answer to this problem. Okay. So let me show to you the deductive reasoning of answering this. So deductive means you have to answer the problem in a traditional manner. So I will rewrite it. So to contain the factors of the numerator and the factors of your denominator. So we shall use the greatest common factor. Okay, so the greatest common factor that exists between 3 and 6 is 3. And then the greatest common factor that exists between x squared and x is x. And finally, the greatest common factor between y and y squared is y. So we pulled out 3xy. So therefore, I have to indicate here open parenthesis. So you have now x, okay? And then for the second term, we have minus 2y, okay? Then close parenthesis divided by. So also, you have to factor the denominator by pulling out the greatest common factor. So you have between x squared and x, the greatest common factor is x. Okay, so you have now parenthesis x minus 2y. So you would note that x minus 2y is common to the numerator and denominator, so they cancel out. And also the x will cancel out. So your answer is 3y. Okay? So again, the word simplify means your answer looks simple. C is the most simple looking option. So we consider C as the answer right away. Okay? Then we have number 2. You are asked to simplify the expression. So if you look at the numerator, it can be quickly factored into x minus y times the quantity x plus y divided by x minus y. So if you see the rewritten form of the expression, there is no other way to simplify that. Okay, so this is now the answer, letter B. Okay, you cannot proceed further to simplify it. So that is the rewritten form of the expression, and that would be considered as the simplified form of the expression because you cannot proceed with factoring anymore. Okay. So we have number 3. So the topic here is a radical. Okay. So a radical contains this sign. Okay. And then inside the radical, you have the radicand. Okay. So always remember the radicand should be simplified. Okay. So if you talk of square root of 25, the simple answer for that is 5. So if you take the square root of x squared, the answer will be x. If you take the square root of y to the 4, the answer is y squared. So you have to multiply all these 3. Okay, so you have 5xy squared. So this is the simplified form. So you do matching of our solution, and it matches option C. Okay, this one. Okay, so easy, right? So number 4, so the concept here is about operations involving fractions. No? Note that there is division as the last operation. So you can shift division to multiplication. So we will now rewrite the equation, okay? So 4 over 7 times 2 over 3, then division becomes multiplication. So you have to take reciprocal of 8 over 9. So that would be 9 over 8. So like terms will cancel out, okay? 4 times 2 is an 8. So it will cancel the denominator 8, okay? And then 9 divided by 3 is 3, okay? So your numerator now is 3, okay? And you can stop and observe the 4 options. It is only option D that contains a numerator 3. So if you like to continue with the denominator, it would be 7. So this is option D, okay? So dali lang, right? Okay, so let's have number 5, another follow-up question on how to perfect your skills in operations involving fractions. So I will just rewrite 3 over 7, then times 4 over 9, and then I will change division to multiplication, and I will not forget to shift the positions of 12 and 63. So you have now 63 times 12, okay? Now note that 3 times 4 is a 12. So it will cancel out with the 12 of your denominator. And then 7 times 9, this one, is 63. So it cancels out with the 63 of your numerator. So what is left in the numerator and denominator would be equal to 1. So this is 1, option D. Okay? So let's have number 6. It's about problem solving. So for each item, select your answer from the 4 choices on the right by clicking the circle beside the letter of your chosen answer. In answering this test, you may use your authorized physical writing material, which is your whiteboard, for your scratch word. Okay? So we strongly suggest, okay, for you to prepare yourselves with the how to answer the actual NMAT. So make sure you in your practice session, you use your whiteboard. Do not use notepad or notebook to contain your solution. So practice using your whiteboard, okay? So let's have the set of problems for which is the section 2. So before we answer number 6, let me recall something about the X and Y coordinate system. So note that the x-axis proceeds like going to the right and going to the left. So as you move to the right, it is positive, okay? When you move to the left, it's negative. On the other hand, for a y-axis, going up is positive and going down is negative. Okay? So let's ask now and read the question. In the coordinate system shown, find the quadrant in which the points M and N lie. Okay? So it is inferred here that M is positive. Okay? And N here is also positive. So if M and N lie in quadrant 3, so here you have M and N. So since it is in quadrant 3, okay, M is negative and N is also negative. Okay, so the question is, in which quadrant would you be able to locate the points with a positive M and a positive N? So therefore, the answer is you will find M and N point in quadrant 1. So the answer is letter A. Clear? So let's have number 7. So number 7 could look difficult, no? Because this is a variation problem, okay? So let's try our best to answer this without solving. So let us use testmanship, okay, using the Jessel principle of observing patterns, no? So let's say quarter. So quarter means 1/4, okay? Of x. So every time you see the word of, you multiply x to the quarter. So you have now 1/4 of x. Changes directly, so this is your proportionality sign, directly as thrice of y. So therefore, this is 3y. Okay? And then here are the conditions. Okay? When y equals 4, it is stated that x equals 96. And then we are asked, what is the value of y when x assumes a value of 144? So we observe here that x increases, right? From 96, it becomes 144. So what is your expected value for y? So for y started from 4, so we expect that to increase, okay? So y will increase also, okay? X increases, y will increase, okay? From 4, you're asked to find out what will be the value of y, okay? So this is the original value of y. So remember our basis, okay? We expect the y value to increase, okay? And then there is a rule, okay, that if one of the options repeats the given, you have to discard that. Like, for example, A says 4, and one of the given is 4. Okay, so 4 is given, so you remove that. So after removing one option, you are left with 3 options, right? Okay, so what do you think would be your answer? Okay, so also 10 would be wrong, right? Okay, because that is going to be too high, and the dominant form of answer should be only 1 digit. Okay, so you now choose between 6 versus 8. Okay, what do you think is your logical answer? 6 versus 8. Okay, so if you answer 8, that would be too high already. Okay, and then it says there thrice of y. Okay, so therefore, when you say thrice of y, okay, the answer should be divisible by 3. And 6 is divisible by 3. 8 cannot be divided by 3. Okay? Okay? So again, the statement says the quarter of x changes directly as thrice of y. Okay? So thrice means 3. So 3 indicates that y value should be divisible by 3. Okay? That is why the answer is letter B. Okay? Now let's solve this. Okay? So we had a while ago 1/4 of x is proportional to thrice of y. So we rewrite this with the intent to remove the proportionality sign. So we introduce the equal sign and then the constant k times 5y, 3y. That's 3y. Okay, so we rewrite this, okay, wherein you solve for k would be equal to 1/4 of an x divided by 3y. So we have to solve for k, wherein we will plug in the values of x equals 96 and y equals 4. So solving for k is equal to 1/4 of an x, and x is 96. You divide it by 3y. Our y is 4. Okay? So 1/4 of 96 is how much? 12. 9 divided by 4 is 2. So 2. So you have 24. Divided by 3 times 4 is 12. So your k value is 2. Now, our equation is transformed to 1/4 of an x equals k is 2, this one, times 3y. So your right side can become 2 times 3 is 6y. So 1/4 x. So now we can solve for the value of y. So find y if x assumes a value of 144. So you have 1/4 of 144 equals 6y. So 6y is equal to 1/4 of 144 divided by 6. Okay? So 144 divided by 4, that's 12, 24, okay, 6. So you have now 36 divided by 6 is equal to what? 6. Okay? And that is option B, right? So, di ba, mahirap pag solve. But if you try your best to understand the principle of how to observe patterns in the options and how to observe patterns in the given, you will never go wrong in pulling out your answer without solving. Okay? So let me repeat another way to form our answer without solving. So we are given 1/4 of x. Okay? So, and then you have 3y. Okay? So based on these two sets of information, okay, 4 is given here. And you would note that 4 is given as one of the options. But before we strike off 4, okay, Gestalt theory says that A, B, C are dominant forms of answer. When you say dominant form of possible answer, dyan ka lang kukuha ng sagot. So therefore, it is inferred that 10 is wrong. Okay, this would be wrong because it's 2 digits. Okay, we expect only 1-digit form of answer. Okay, clear? Because you're looking for the value of y, and the given value of y equals 4. That's 1 digit, right? Okay, so we reject first, okay, the option D. Okay, and then once you reject options D, you would see the 3 options left can be arranged from lowest to highest. So this is your median. Okay, and then 4 is invalid because it is given. So you have to choose now between 6 and 8. But it says there 3y. Okay, so that means these are possible values of y, 6 or 8. So since there is a given 3y, the y value that you're looking for should be divisible by 3. And it is only 6 that can be divided by 3. On the other hand, 8 cannot be divided by 3. So this is not possible. So dividing 6 by 3 is possible. Okay? So therefore, our median is valid. Okay? So valid. Okay? So let's have the next number. The mean of 8 numbers is 10. So therefore, you have a raw data that is composed of 8 numbers. Okay, so let me write that. Raw data consists of 8 numbers. Okay, now it says there the mean is 810. So therefore, what you do is the mean, which is 10, is multiplied to 8 sets of numbers. That would be 80. Okay, so 80 is the total value of the 8 numbers. Okay, so from that total, which is 80, it was stated that a certain number is taken away from it, and you're asked to find what is that number that was taken away from the 8 sets of numbers. So that would be x. Okay, so let x be the number that is taken away. So we're now ready to set our equation, 80 minus x, okay? And then how many numbers are left now? So since you have removed one number from 8 numbers, there are 7 numbers left. So this would be divided by 7. And that is the definition of the mean, okay? So the mean, after removing one number from the 8 numbers, the mean becomes 9. Okay, so that is our equation. 80 minus x divided by 7 equals 9. So you cross multiply 80 minus x. 9 times 7 is 63. So you transpose x to the right side. Likewise, you transpose 63 to the left side. So you have now x is equal to 80 minus 63. And x here will be equal to 17. So this is option D. Okay, D is the answer. Okay, so we need to solve because there are no patterns given in the statement of the problem, right? But we are sure of 8 is given, so this is wrong. But we cannot proceed further, no? Like saying 13 is the median, okay? Because the number that you took out from the 8 sets of number is considered big, okay? Because the mean becomes 9 and the previous mean is 10. So that means you have removed, okay, a large number from the 8 numbers. Kasi mataas pa yung mean, okay? Yung 10 naging 9 lang, okay? So the number that is removed, okay, must be big kasi bumaba yung mean sa 10 to 9. Okay? So D is the correct answer as indicated by solving for it using algebraic equation. Okay? So that's it. That is our traditional solution. That's how I answered the question number 8. Okay? Okay, it's clear, no? Let's do our best to analyze the problem and pull out the answer quickly without solving, okay? First, 8 is given. So there is a rule. If a number is given, it is a bad answer. So what is the number cannot be represented by 8. So we remove this. Okay, and you would see that the median is 13. Now, the number that is removed from the 8 is considered big. Okay, so this is a big number. Why? Because the number that was taken away from the 8 sets of number is imagined to be a big number because the mean, okay, dropped to 9. Okay? Bumaba yung mean eh. So, ibig sabihin, malaki yung number na inalis mo. So, ito yung magiging valid answer. Okay? Yung big. Big number was removed. Okay? So, if you are confused or you're not sure on how to pull out your answer without solving, better solve it. Okay? Clear? So, let's have number 9. So, number 9 is about a recall of concept in statistics about the median. Huh? So first thing, you count, because the question is the median, right? So you count how many numbers are in the set of data or data. So this is 5, tama? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Tama ba yun? 11 ba yun? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you have even set of numbers. So the rule would be to know the median, it is equal to the fifth number plus the sixth number divided by 2. Okay, that is the median for this set of data. Again, since there are even sets of number in the set of data, the median is obtained by pulling out the fifth number and add it to the sixth number, and the sum is divided by 2, and that will represent the median. So from the counting, we said that you have to first what? Arrange the list from lowest to highest. So the list would start from 9. Then we have followed by 9 is 12. Okay. Then we have what? 9, 12, 13, 14. Okay. Here's the next. 9, 12, 13, 14, and another 14. Note that. Then 14 is followed by 18, and then 19. Then you have 20. Then you have 26 and another 26. So we count from the left: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the fifth and the sixth number will be summed up. So you have now median is equal to 14 plus 18 divided by 2. So the numerator takes the sum of 32 divided by 2. That would be 16. Okay? So the answer is letter D. Okay? So please remember the concept. No? To find the median of even set of numbers, okay, you take out the fifth, okay, and the sixth number and divide it by 2, because you have a total of how many numbers? 10. Okay, so you have 10 sets of numbers. Okay, so we now formalize our rule. Okay, so take your notebook and record this. Okay, NMAT. If the number of data values is odd, the median is the middle value. Okay, if the number of values in the set of data is even number or even number, yes, The median is the average of the two middle values. Okay? That is why we said here, okay, that you take out the fifth and the sixth value because that is the middle value, middle values. Okay? So first, make sure you arrange the numbers from smallest to highest. Okay? So that you could clearly see which is the middle value or the median. Okay? So, ulitin. Kung ang bilang ng number do sa raw data is add. So, list the set of numbers from lowest to highest. The middle value is the what? Yung nasa gitna nung listahan ng add. Okay? So, if the list consists of even sets of numbers, okay? So, yung arrange from lowest to highest, so yung dalawang gitnang values, i-add nyo, tapos divide ng 2. Okay? Okay, katulad dito, arrange natin, di ba? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, even yan, yung bilang ng nakalista. So, dahil even yan, kukunin natin yung middle two values, yung dalawa. The fifth and the sixth number. So, that is 14 and what? 18. Diba? Ito, 14 and 18. Yan. I-add yung 14 sa 18, 32 yon. Divide yun ng 2, 16. That's how you get the mean. Okay? Then we go to number 10. What is the mode of the set in the number 9? So, balikan lang natin yung sinulat natin. So, pag sinabing mode, how frequent is that particular number, okay, is seen? Okay? So, kung mapapansin nyo, yung 14, dalawang beses nag-appear yun. No? Tapos yung 26, dalawang beses din nag-appear sila. So, if you will answer the question, what is the mode of the set in the number 9 question, dalawang sagot natin. You have a mode which consists of 14 and 26. So, mode refers to how frequent that a particular number appears in the set of raw data. Okay? Ilang beses yung nakikita yung number na yun. So, siya yung magsasabi ng mode mo. So, kung 3 beses mo nakita yung 14, the mode is based on having 3 times that you see it, right? So, ganun. Ang mode palaging, ano yung numero palagi natin na nag-appear sa listahan? Okay? Yeah. So the mode is the number that appears most frequently in a data set. So in the given set, 14 appears twice, 26 appears twice also, okay? And all the other numbers appear only once. Therefore, we conclude that the data set has two modes consisting of 14 and 26, okay?